What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, two of the finest NFL fantasy football analysts you can find anywhere, and that means on the Twitterverse or in just reality. Just to have a conversation with somebody. It's Britt, Flinn. It's Andrew Cooper. How you guys doing today?
I'm great. It's SEC Media Day. Just saw an interview with KJ Jefferson, so it got me super stoked about Razorback football, hence the hat. And yeah, super excited.
I'm doing fantastic. Just got in a little bit of fight with the entirety of Justin Fields' Twitter, and we're having a ball talking football, so it's a good time.
What's the beef on Twitter? Are you are we pro Fields? Are we anti Fields? Where are we at?
So here's the crazy part: is that I love Justin Fields. John Pemba's in. I'm in. We love him for fantasy football. I just didn't like the way he answered a question recently. They asked him who the top 5 quarterbacks all time were, and he put himself on the list. Put himself ahead of like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen weren't on the list, but Lamar Jackson was. But he put himself ahead of guys like Randall Cunningham and Fran Tarkenton. And honestly, having confidence is good. My opinion is that when you've only played 25 games in the NFL and people are asking you about all time, right? What you should probably do is name 5 guys that have already had all-time great careers, and then to cap it off by saying, and I hope someday that, or even say, I think that someday I'll be on that list, right? But to put yourself top 5 all time after 25 games, coming off a year when your team finished dead last, right? I don't like the way that comes off personally. It's fine to say I'm a great runner and all this, but to say you're top 5 all time right now after a season and a half, I don't like it. And it sounds like some people don't like it either, and a lot of people do like it. So that's a beauty of Twitter. Howard.
I mean, it's a listen, it's a thing going on right now, and I'll tell you flat out, it's a generational thing. You asked any quarterback this same question 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and they would have just given you a list of players. Today's athlete, today's player, they want to insert themselves like that. They want to have that swag. They want to have that confidence. It's the bat flip equivalent. You get a baseball player who says that he wants to be able to express himself on the field. Well, yeah, okay. Do you think a bat flip when your team's down 7-1 and you just hit a solo home run in the 8th after going 0 for 4 the rest of the day? Like, is that needed? Is the bat flip needed? So, I mean, I put that to the two of you guys right now who are significantly younger than I am. And, so Coop's against it. What about you, Britt? Express yourself, be who you are, and have that kind of swag, or shut the hell up and sit down and earn your keep.
I'm all about expressing yourself, but there's a way to do it respectfully. And I think that this participation trophy generation, that everybody's great and everybody's wonderful and nobody can do any wrong, like really has gotten a little bit out of control. Everybody needs to have a little bit of humility while still acknowledging their strengths. And that's what people lack, is the humility.
And part of it for me, it's like, it's the Patriots fan in me that when I look at the way the veterans have handled themselves and the way Belichick would want to handle himself, like you're putting such a big target on yourself in so many ways, saying I'm already top 5 all time. When your team was dead last, not just the division, but the league. And you've got other guys in the division or in the league that are the same age as you. Like Jalen Hurts is the same age. He has more career rushing yards, and you don't put him on the list. You put yourself over him. It's just, I just feel like there's such an easy way to say I'm that good, and when all is said and done, I will be that good. My opinion is to go out and play great and let everybody else talk about how great you are.
It's the old adage, act like you've been here before.
Right.
Very ironic that the Patriots fan takes a page out of the Yankee book in order to express that. But I agree with you, man. I think that everybody should shut the hell up and earn their stripes. And yes, Britt's 1,000% right that this participation trophy generation needs a slap. They definitely need a slap. And I mean, what are you going to do? It's going to take like, the original NBA dream team from the Olympics to like play the next group of rising young stars in a basketball pickup game and see who wins that one, right? Give me Ewing and Michael Jordan and that whole crew, Magic Johnson going up against the I'm gonna flash my piece, John Morant, or any of these other idiots who are out there. So, all right, but that's not what we're here. We're here to talk some fantasy football. We're here to talk about everything that's going on right now. We've got a great show planned for you today. We are giving away another RT Sports Best Ball entry. That's right, $20 value for a chance at $25,000. Our good friend Jeff Paur from RT Sports, he's going to drop by because he's got the trivia question for everybody. So you'll have to stay locked in here. If you're watching us on YouTube, you better like and subscribe. Hit that button. It's how we're feeding our families. Well, if you notice, I've lost weight. So you better start hitting that subscribe button a little bit more right there. So as we do here on Alarm Fantasy Football, we kick everything off with, that's right, let's get that news in here. Britt Flinn, our local correspondent.
Over to you, Britt.
Thank you, guys. So first off, I just want to say that it is only 50 days until the fantasy football season kicks off, and I could not be more excited. But there's still a lot of stuff to sort out, and that's what we'll get to in the news today. One of those things being that Leonard Fournette worked out for the Patriots today, making all the Ramondre Stevenson managers a little bit nervous. Is that just part of the vetting process for the Patriots, or do you think that they are truly in the market for another dual threat running back like Leonard Fournette? And Coop, since you are the resident Patriots fan, I will start with you.
I'll tell you right now, we need to start moving Ramondre down just below the guys that are super safe, right? And for me personally, I had people saying they're not drafting Nick Chubb because they have Ramondre ranked higher. That absolutely needs to be reversed, right? If you look at it, just the fact that they're the top odds to get Dalvin Cook as well, that has me scared that they want this to be a split backfield. Even if, let's say, they don't get any of Dalvin or Fournette or Kareem Hunt, even then, it kind of tells you that in their plans is maybe Pierre Strong, or at risk of being fined, Ty Montgomery. So like it just tells me that they don't want it to be that way. And if you look at last year, when the season started, Ty Montgomery played 20 snaps and Ramondre Stevenson in the first week only played 14. When the season started, they had that plan in place. Now, Ty Montgomery got hurt. Mondre got that pass down role, and he really kind of ran with the whole thing. But in the back of our minds, we have to be thinking, this team is going out of their way to try and find somebody else. That is not what you want to see.
No, you definitely don't want to see it, but for the same token, I'm not really that worried about Ramondre Stevenson. And yeah, listen, if they're going to bring in Dalvin Cook on a one-year deal, if they're going to bring in Leonard Fournette on a one-year deal, it's because those are the guys who are going to end up being utilized at the tail end. I did the full breakdown of the Patriots scheme in the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide. You can go and get that right now at fantasyalarm.com/draft guide. You can buy it on its own. You can get it with the cheat sheet. You can buy it as part of the All-Pro subscription. However you want to do it, that's where it's at. And listen, Bill O'Brien he likes a spread offense, and he likes to use the pass to set up the run. I mean, he's still going to utilize Ramondre Stevenson heavily early on in the games, but once the Patriots take that lead in the first half, if they grab that lead, well, then what are they going to end up doing that second half? They're going to sit on that lead as best they can, and they're going to run the football. Do you want to utilize Ramondre Stevenson like that on the heavy? If you're going to utilize him, in the first half with both passing and rushing, probably not. So, to end up with like a tomato can, like Leonard Fournette, and just say, all right, here, go, earn your money, protect this lead, and just, keep getting yards and keep getting first downs. I'm pretty okay with it. I'm not really going to downgrade Ramondre Stevenson all that much. Even if they sign Cook, I might downgrade him a little bit more if they sign Cook over Fournette,
right? But
not really all that much.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Lombardi Lenny is now a tomato can.
Lombardi Lenny has always been a tomato can. It's real tough to run in an offense that's being led by Tom Brady when everybody knows that Tom Brady's going to want to sling the rock. So playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, whatever we're going to say about it, the guy is definitely gassed.
And I will say this about Fournette: just when we talk about the Patriot way, like this is a guy who had to get arrested because he got so many tickets for tint on his car that he didn't pay, that it racked up to the point where a minor speeding caused him to get actually arrested for not paying that many fines. Like, that doesn't sound like a Patriot Way guy to me, honestly. So just my 2 cents.
And then his car burned up on the side of the road. So
There's a
we
whole
could
series.
go into conspiracies about that. But
Yeah, you want to talk about
Patriots have no history of signing convicts. No history whatsoever, Coop. What's the next story, Britt?
Yeah.
So
I don't
that's
even want
another
to hear the
story.
response.
So this had me worried yesterday when it was reported that Isaiah Pacheco could be placed on the PUP list to start training camp. I initially wrote this question that if he's unable to start the season, are we buying into Clyde Edwards-Helaire again? Because blech. But he was seen today at practice. He was, however, wearing a yellow no contact jersey. But Howard says that it still counts. So what's your take on Isaiah Pacheco entering the season,
definitely
Howard?
still counts. Like no contact, that's fine. I mean, listen, the guy had a shoulder cleanup procedure done. He had a wrist procedure done to help. I think he fractured his hand, in the Super Bowl. So the fact that he's, running and looking to get involved with everything and do all the drills right now here in camp in July, I like that. I definitely like that. We'll see how long he goes with this no contact jersey. But yeah, listen, if this is a guy who I have visions of being my bell cow back, well, if I'm Andy Reid, and listen, Andy Reid's the ultimate protector. Remember, guys, nobody plays in the last preseason game because of Andy Reid. And this was, I don't know, 20 years ago when Reid was with the Eagles, and he lost like 2 players in the final preseason game. So Reid's always protective. I like that. I'm fine with that. And I think the fact that that Pacheco is there at camp right now and he's still running drills, just not taking any hits, I'm okay.
Yep, exactly. Like, it's one thing. I don't fade guys who might get hurt, and I don't fade guys who have gotten hurt in the past. If he's out there and he's healthy now running around, and especially when it comes actual redraft time in August, I'm not going to fade the guy. Now, if this turns into something where he's starting to actually miss time and they take him out or he's missing days, then it's different. But right now, the fact that he's out there running around, I'm not too worried about it.
Feeling good.
I tell you, when the story came out yesterday, I immediately went over to the training camp battle article in the draft guide and started furiously updating it. And just while I was typing, just like uttering expletives, because I looked at my exposure of him on Underdog and was like, no, this can't be happening. But today is a good sign. So, but it hasn't been a good day for another Kansas City Chief. It's reportedly been a pretty rough first day of practice for Rashee Rice. He left drills a couple times and was seen puking on the side of the field. Do you think it's the heat, or are you worried a little bit about his conditioning, Coop?
So I honestly need to see more than one day of this because, I believe it or not, I played ball back in my day, and there were honestly days where it was too hot. There were days where people, you don't know what happened in their lives. There were days where a guy drank too much Gatorade. It was just too much sugar. And, I'll even say a kid, Anthony Sherman, that we played with that actually played for the Chiefs, he had a habit of throwing up like before games just because of nerves and stuff. Because, I mean, he was our entire team, so he should be pretty nervous. But there are a lot of different things that go into something like that. I'm not going to sit here and say that this guy isn't ready or he stinks, just like in the past with Treylon Burks with the inhaler stuff or I'm sure Howard, anytime there's a negative report on guys like this, Howard usually takes that and he's on the other side. So I'd love to hear what Howard has to say. But me personally, maybe if he shows up tomorrow, yeah, there you go. Maybe if he shows up tomorrow and he can't get through practice again, now we're worried. But as far as we know, maybe he, maybe he had a bad bowl of soup and he just had to throw up a couple times, So Howard, what do you think?
Right, you never order the clam chowder in Kansas City. Never order the clam chowder.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, you know what? I'm not worried. Keep these negative reports coming in. Absolutely. I grabbed Rashee Rice late in the FSGA draft. I'm perfectly fine with that. Everybody can keep focusing on Jackson Smith-Njigba. Everybody can keep focusing on Jordan Addison. You leave Jalen Hyatt running with the threes and Rashee Rice up chucking on the sidelines. You leave those guys alone. You don't want to draft them. No. You leave them all for me, and I'll take that punishment, right? Dude, I love it, man. Keep puking, Rashee. I got you, buddy. I got you.
Let's go.
Well, While we do not endorse eating disorders on this show, I think that the discount is still warranted.
Yeah.
So
Food poisoning is not an eating disorder. I mean, unless you like clam chowder, and then that's probably more of a disorder than anything else.
I would agree.
Clam chowder's
As
awesome.
somebody who's very landlocked and suspicious of fish.
I can only imagine what the clam chowder is like in Arkansas, though. You got to get it up here in Boston.
It doesn't matter if you're in Boston. You're putting clams and milk together. That's the most disgusting thing I could possibly think of.
Yum, dude. Clam milkshake. Let's go.
Not a fan.
Take that clam milkshake and heat it up. Yeah. When you say it like that, Howard, yeah, of course.
Another thing that I'm not a fan of is that Kendre Miller was placed on the NFI list after he underwent meniscus surgery in the offseason. It kind of makes me worry a little bit about the Saints running back room because it's looking a little thin with a potential Alvin Kamara suspension looming. So do you think the Saints are in the market for one of the many free agent running backs, Howard?
Nope. Give it all to Jamal Williams. Until the NFL says Alvin Kamara is suspended, then I'm not worried. You got Alvin Kamara, you got Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller. Take your time, kid. Let that knee heal. We need you more for the second half than the first half of the season anyway. Because who knows? Maybe something does come down with Alvin Kamara early on this season, and they're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're going to miss like weeks 8 through 12 now because of a suspension. So, nope, I'm not concerned whatsoever. I'm still bullish on drafting Kendre Miller in dynasty formats. And if you want to use like a late round pick on him, in your drafts, and you can afford the bench spot, not pick him, not draft him and then drop him immediately. Like you draft him to hold him for the duration. But yeah, that's my take. That's my take.
Bingo, Howard. That's the biggest thing for me. A guy like Kendre Miller, he already was kind of with a lot of these rookies. Your plan is for him to break out second half and be the guy. If you can take him with your second to last pick and have the bench spot for him, then great. But if you're just going to pick him and then drop him for the hot pickup first time around, that was never even going to be the plan for this guy anyway, because they brought in the vets. Like even Alvin Kamara took a little time. He needed Adrian Peterson to get traded. He needed Mark Ingram to come in. So yeah, I do. And I also, this is to me different than the Isaiah Pacheco situation, because Isaiah Pacheco already carved out his role. He's got the early down role. Jerick McKinnon's got the second role. Kendre Miller hasn't carved anything out yet. And if he hasn't practiced at all this year because he's had a meniscus surgery, we're going to keep an eye on him and see when he gets on the field, because you can't just earn a hypothetical role. He's got to get out there and actually earn it. So I like him better in Dynasty than I do in redraft at this point.
Or best ball. I think I would take a chance on him in best ball as well. Sure. But redraft, depending on the bench size, a little worrisome. Another thing that's very worrisome, and we've talked about this over and over and over again, but it really legitimately seems like Saquon Barkley is considering sitting out as a big double finger FU to the Giants. This is straight from the horse's mouth, and it's getting real, y'all. What's going to happen to the Giants if their entire offense sits out for part or all of the season, Coop?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, with once again, this is put the popcorn news thing up there, because when I looked at the actual, this is popcorn to me. This is fluff, because when I actually looked at what he was saying, right, he really made it sound like he doesn't want to do that. Basically, what he's saying is that I'm a huge part of this team. We want to win now. If you want to win now, you got to pay me. And he's saying I could sit out as a big FU to the team. I could sit out as a big FU to my teammates. And that was the part of the quote where I heard it and I said, okay, he doesn't actually mean it, right? Because he wouldn't say FU to his teammates. What he's saying is, look, I will sit out if I have to prove my worth, but we all want to win. And we all know that I'm a big part of us winning. So let's just get me paid. So I think at the end of the day, he's basically saying, like, look, I know that I could do this, but I'm not going to. I mean, for him to say I could sit out as a big FU to my teammates and then sit out, that doesn't sound like Saquon Barkley I know, right, Howard?
It does not sound like the Saquon Barkley I know either. And I'm looking to see where the Giants are in odds to sign Dalvin Cook, because I think that's actually – probably one of the more telling things, that if you genuinely believe that Saquon Barkley is going to hold out for the entire season, then the Giants better be in on Dalvin Cook, because like Coop said, it's a win now, situation here for New York. You just paid, Darren Waller all that money. You got the odds, Coop. What's the odds?
I got
Who's saying this?
That's me. I've got the odds. I do have the odds. So there's basically 3 tiers of Dalvin Cook.
I want to know tiers. I want to know what the Giants' odds are of signing Dalvin Cook right now.
Plus 1,500.
Okay, so see, that tells me right there that we're leaning more towards working shit out with Saquon Barkley than anything else. I mean, Coop's right. The line about saying "F you" to his teammates, that's the that's the kicker here, because you can say "F you" to the team for screwing you over and not playing. You could say "F you" to the league because the running back situation is just it's a horrible epidemic going on right now. But when you turn around and you say, I could say F you to my teammates, that's where you're saying, you know what, this is something I don't want to be dealing with right now. So I agree. As long as it's, plus 1,500 for them to sign Dalvin Cook, because that's the best running back on the open market right now. Sure, it would be a nice little thing to see Ezekiel Elliott in a Giants uniform in week 1 going up against Dallas. Yeah, I say that. I want to puke every time I say Dallas also, Britt. But I mean, I think, Dalvin Cook's probably the best running back to use in that system for the Giants if you needed to replace Saquon Barkley. But
yeah, and I don't think saying, writing off your teammates, and I don't think that that's a good precedent to set. And especially if he wants to go to another team and get paid in the future, teams are going to look at that. I mean, we've seen it before with Le'Veon Bell and with Melvin Gordon and all of the other running backs who have tried to hold out. So it's just a little interesting. But one more guy, unfortunately, who is very unhappy with his contract and is threatening a holdout is Cowboys guard Zach Martin. This information comes down the same day that he received a 99 Madden rating. Is this a coincidence? Did he decide that he was underpaid just because Madden decided that he was the best guard in the league? Or is this warranted? And what will it mean for Dallas if he does hold out?
I think he knows he's the best right guard in the league. Left guard, maybe Quentin Nelson. But my question, and I don't think it's because of Madden. My question is with the timing. Like, he had all offseason to say that he doesn't like his contract. Why now? Like, why all of a sudden now, right before training camp, say, oh, it's time to work? Maybe I need a little longer vacation. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me to come out right now after nothing. Or maybe he's been saying it behind the scenes the whole time, and now his agent finally decided it's time to go public with this. I don't know, but I don't like the timing of it for a guy like this. And I do like Zach Martin. I think he's a great player and neither deserves to be one of the top paid guys. But yeah, I don't know. Very difficult time for him to come out and drop that bomb, huh?
I think the fact that we mentioned what a Madden rating is for a player it's just an indictment on how stupid a world we live in right now. Like, I'm sorry, but who gives a crap what your video game rating is? It's not. How many times have we seen people play Madden where it's nothing like the real thing? I mean, it's the fact that it's there. Zach Martin should be paid. And I'm sure that, yes, with all the stuff that, I like Coop's thought process here on the fact that, maybe he's sitting there on vacation right now and he's like, oh man, I don't want to go to camp right now. I'm so tired. Maybe that's what the case is here. Maybe it's the fact that, he's like, well, if the running backs are going to get theirs, how about us offensive linemen? Coop was lobbying for us to be, MVP award people or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird timing, but again, the Madden rating aspect of it, I mean, I sincerely hope that Xbox and PlayStation and every one of those other video games just go down in a fiery crash. So
I will say Dustin makes an interesting point in the chat that it screams to me like, if you're going to leverage your name being in the news, this screams agent. Right, agent decision. Hey, your name's popping. Let's see if we can squeeze out some
99 rating in Madden. I'm gonna try and get you some more money right now. That's
and Zach Martin's thing. Like, yeah, go ahead, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do, man. I'll see you. I'll be at camp in 5 days. Yeah, so that's probably what's going on here. That's a good point, Dustin. Right?
I just hate it. The timing of it is way too coincidental. But let's go on to a couple more things before we welcome on our guest, Jeff Paur. So Yahoo Sports put out a list of coaches who are potentially on the hot seat, including Brandon Staley of the Chargers, Kevin Stefanski of the Browns, and Josh McDaniels of the Raiders, among others. Do you agree that these people should be on the list? And do you think that there are some other names worthy of mentioning, Howard?
Listen, you know what? Stefanski always drives me nuts, so it doesn't surprise me that he's on this list. Brandon Staley of the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers have had all sorts of potential. They've got less potential now than they did 3 years ago, and they couldn't get out of their own way. Never, 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 never bet the Chargers at home when they're favored by a touchdown or more. I'm just telling you guys, blanket statement right there. For me, the big one here is the other article that I saw where Bill Belichick now on the hot seat. Coop, like Big Belichick now. We're dealing with the fact that that Robert Kraft is unhappy that he put Joe Judge, Matt Patricia in charge of the offense. That Tom Brady went down to Tampa, he won a Super Bowl, and the Patriots in the middle of this rebuild. I mean, listen, I like it just because it gives me a little bit of, like turmoil in New England. But I mean, every coach should be on the hot seat. If you don't win, get the hell out.
Honestly, it's crazy. And here's the crazy part. If this team actually does want to like tear it down and do a rebuild, you might need to fire Belichick just as part of that, or find a way to get rid of him. I mean, Howard, your Jets did that once where Adam Gase was halfway out the door, and at the end of the year, he started winning games, and they were just like, no, we cannot win these games. They pulled the plug on games.
That was like the worst thing ever. I was like, if Adam Gase's job gets saved because of this, I'm literally going to jump off a cliff.
And they fired him specifically because Gase is probably in that locker room. He's like, we're all going to lose our jobs if we don't win some games here. And then they were like, no, you're out of here. We do want you to lose. So, I mean, maybe I just feel like it'll be sold as a more of a mutual parting of the ways of just like, hey, and they'll it'll be all the bells and whistles, and they'll name all the streets after him, and they'll say, oh, he's going to another team because we're doing a rebuild or something like that. But I mean, if they don't win this year, I don't think it's crazy for him to be forced out in some way. So typically, the Patriots fan of me would say, oh, well, in Bill we trust and he's the GOAT and all this stuff. But I think there's a world where it's more complicated than that. So I can see that. The other one is Brandon Staley. I agree that Brandon Staley is probably the one on the truly hottest seat, just because he's done so many things to that where you can turn and say the coach should have did this differently. Going forward on fourth down that much and having it not work, I mean, that can be blamed on the coach. The timeouts, the fact they couldn't put the game away when they were crushing the Jaguars. They were the better team than the Jaguars last year. They lost that game. That's on the coach, in my opinion. So, we've seen this, we've seen the Chargers fire Marty Schottenheimer after a 14-win season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had enough of the Brandon Staley wildness and just wanted somebody that's a little more conservative,
But that's why they brought in Kellen Moore, because he's going to be their savior.
They're letting Brandon Staley go crazy this year with no more Joe Lombardi holding things back. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it might be time for somebody else to come in.
I got to address the chat real quick here. Chris Sellers, I've never been burned by the Madden cover because I have no idea who's on the Madden cover ever. You know why? Because I don't give a crap. Doesn't matter to me. You put anybody's face onto a video game, so be it. That doesn't. And then Mr. Scampers, has there ever been a Gase truther? Yes, Michael Salfino. If you go to Twitter and you follow Michael Salfino, I believe it's at Michael Salfino. I'm not really sure, but it's Salfino. And that man was most definitely an Adam Gase truther. I had numerous debates with him on that.
Oh, I hate that. I cannot imagine being a Gase truther.
He's an enemy.
How could you be a Gase truther? It's like the weirdest thing in the world. I mean, the guy is just.
Well, and he was the weirdest thing in the world. All those memes that came out with him just like
with the
looking around everywhere.
Look at the taco. I love the one with the tacos like floating around in front of him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It made for great memes. But
my favorite, he's always been an enemy of the tight end community. But my favorite was one game he comes out and he's like, yeah, I don't know why CJ Uzoma is not more involved. And I pulled up the stats, and he blocked on 43% of his snaps, that his pass plays that game. 43%. I'm like, why isn't this guy more involved? Why isn't he just making it happen from his position playing offensive tackle? So Yeah, Adam Gase, I'm all set, man.
So bad. So
Yeah.
bad.
Awful.
Yeah,
Well,
like the guy got like, any like weird, bizarre notoriety because he's like, you know what he is? Adam Gase and Nathaniel Hackett are like the same exact person.
Right.
The same exact person. Like they Gase made his name riding on the coattails of Peyton Manning in Denver, and Nathaniel Hackett got his riding the coattails of Aaron Rodgers. So all right, listen. Ooh, I think I just hear a knock. Who is it? Sounds to me like Jeff Paur from RT Sports knocking on the door here, wearing his Kansas City Royals royal blue. I love that. What's going on, Jeff? Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. I got my Bo Jackson jersey on. Huge Bo Jackson fan. That was my guy.
Everybody's a Bo Jackson fan. Well, Jeff, first of all, thank you so much. We're gonna do a giveaway here. RT Sports. We're gonna give away an entry to our best ball, to your best ball championship, ours. Well, because I feel like I'm a part of it. To the best ball championship, and you've got a trivia question that you'll get to ask here. But before we do that, I mean, I think we each have a round of questions. I'm gonna start my question off here, Jeff, with why all the New York hate, dude? Like we see the commercials airing out here on BSN. You hate Aaron Rodgers. You hate Darren Waller. What happened to you? Who hurt you in the Big Apple, Jeff?
I like Garrett Wilson. That's not out there yet. I think he's going to have a huge year. That's my guy. I'll go with Garrett Wilson. I don't have New York hate. There's not a bias. Maybe
it's just fun. It's funny that we sit here during these breaks when we play the RT Sports breaks. We love you guys, but like I'm huge on Darren Waller, and I'm sitting here. I'm like, we got to get Jeff on here. We got to talk about a couple of these, man.
Yeah, I worry about Waller a little bit. Just moving to a new situation. I know the targets are there, but he's been so injury prone. I don't have much faith in him after the last few years. He scares me.
I think the Raiders actually came out and said about the same thing. So I don't think that's crazy. At the tight end position, all I care about is upside, and the upside's there for me.
Well, and speaking about so you do a lot of best ball over at RT Sports, and I actually just participated in one, in the Colton and the Wolfman one. When you're chasing upside, do you like just the pure upside with a low floor, or do you like to have a little bit more balance when you're building your team?
I think balance is a key, but I'm taking a few more swings than I normally do. I mean, guys like Mike Williams intrigue me more in a best ball format. I know he's going to drive those season-long owners kind of crazy, but man, he can go off any given week. So a guy like that, I take more chances on. Even rookies. I'm not normally a big rookie guy, but I just think that you can take a few more chances in these best ball formats, deeper formats, and deeper rosters, I should say, and try to hit big on one of them.
Yeah, I mean, well, everybody's playing best ball, and everyone's talking so much best ball these days. The contest that I want to talk to you about, and the one that I'm going to get into this year, is the other one, the big boy. For the $20 one that to win 25 is awesome, but the $300 one where you can win $500,000, right? That's the killer. And this year, the big question for a lot of people is quarterbacks. Do you go early or do you hang late? If you're playing in one of these ones, and I believe it's $300, you win $1,600 if you win your league, and then you go into the playoffs to win $1 million. Are you the kind of guy that just wants to get a good quarterback, or are you willing to play fast and loose and try and find one off waivers, where this is a real league, so you can grab guys off waivers?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to try to find one off waivers, but I'm not sure I'm going to have much stock of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if I can do that. I'd rather wait a little bit and maybe get the second 1A, the second one options, in my opinion, like a Trevor Lawrence, somebody in that realm, even Deshaun Watson this year. I kind of like him. I'm probably not going to go super early on a QB. That's just the way I roll, though. That's how I've always drafted, and I'm probably not going to change that way, even in a format like that.
Yeah, Jeff,
I'm the same way.
I'm kind of, I'm in that realm with you there also. So let me ask you here, because you guys have your ADP, and we show that over at Fantasy Alarm. Is best ball ruining the ADP of quarterbacks right now? Like when you take a look at where quarterbacks are being drafted, I'm not saying super flex, I'm just talking like single QB leagues. But everybody in best ball seems so hell-bent on stacking that we're seeing that ADP kind of climb up there. Do you find that maybe people who are, drafting in like the fantasy championships are at more of an advantage by not going along with that best ball ADP.
No, I think that's a fair point, Howard. I think that's very true. It's a different animal, those two different leagues, and I think you have to, play to your format. We say it all the time. Glenn Colton's good at it. Know your league rules. So you have to know your league rules and know what works and what doesn't work. And it's different drafting in best ball and the fantasy championship. So I think you're right. It's a great point, Howard.
So I want to ask you something that just completely broke my heart over the weekend with DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans. It seems that his ADP hasn't really risen that much. I believe he's wide receiver 20 on RT Sports right now. How do you think that he fits into this offense? And are you taking that discount on him at wide receiver 20?
If you can get him that cheap, I'm okay with it. I'm still not huge on him just moving to an offense that is run first, but I think it's good news for the entire offense that probably Ryan Tannehill is going to be starting most of the year because he's probably the best option at QB in my opinion there. I still think they're going to be run heavy, but they've produced some decent receivers in the past. A.J. Brown had some pretty good seasons. I mean, he's obviously better in a different situation, but still, I wouldn't totally discount Hopkins to be a complete bust. I still think he could be a wide receiver number 2 this year.
Yeah, so Britt, I'm glad you brought up Hopkins because the question I had is, and this might be a bit of a tech question, so I'm not sure if you have this info, but I just did the FSGA expert draft yesterday with guys like Heath Cummings, Digger Turnbull sets the whole thing up. It's super cool. We did it on RT Sports, and I noticed that the news is so recent that a guy like Chigakonkwo is still going fairly high, and we expect him to adjust down. There's the movement takes a little while. Do you know with your system, for instance, how often that updates? What kind of how it rolls through, or is that too deep a cut? Because I was trying to get a hold on where I need to jump into these big leagues and say, okay, this news just broke. I can take advantage of this right now if I get it set up. Because I know the big ones, they go all summer, right?
Yeah, exactly. They go all summer. But I mean, if you're talking about like looking at ADP, we have it to where you can look like the last 3 days, the
Okay.
last couple days, the last week. So you could sort by that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
I
one
like
way you
that.
can kind of look to see how they're moving up and down. And we actually have little arrows that go up and down on guys that are moving up and down in the rankings. So it's a good little tool to our draft guide. It's freedraftguide.com. So you can look on there. It's kind of an interactive ADP. So that's one way you can see guys moving up and down.
I like that.
Like that a lot. All right. Well, Jeff, I know that the chat room is waiting with bated breath. It is time to do our giveaway now. Again, folks, just so you know, is what we're doing here is we're going to ask a trivia question. Jeff's going to ask a trivia question. First one in that chat room wins with the right answer, of course. It's a $20 value. You're playing for a grand prize of $25,000 here for the RT Sports Best Ball Championships. Enjoy the draft. Get your best possible lineup each week automatically. And the league features dual flex drafts happening every night until the season kicks off. So, and we've got an exclusive offer here. You can just go to rtsports.com/alarm. Use that promo code alarm23, and then you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $200. So that's what we got going on right now. But Jeff, all right, wait, I gotta get my fingers ready so I can answer in the chat right now. Not that I'm eligible, but all right, Jeff. Our trivia question today is.
So, Howard, I did this in honor of you. You're the tight end whisperer, correct? You are not. You are the guy, right?
Yes.
I am.
So I did a tight end
It's Junior.
question. So here's the question: 4 tight ends last year had 100+ targets. The top 3 were Travis Kelce, T.J. Hawkinson, Mark Andrews. Who was the 4th tight end to reach 100 targets last year?
Chat, don't let us down.
Don't let us down. Here we go. 4th tight end to reach 100+ targets last year. It ain't Kelce, it ain't Hawkinson, and it ain't Andrews. Who's got the answer?
Scamper says how to lose a guy in 10 days.
Scamper says Dan Arnold. That is incorrect. Keep it going, people. Keep it going. In the meantime, while we wait for everybody to use their Google machine and come up with this right one. We already got it. There it is. Dustin Ludke.
There it is.
Edges out Rick Weaver on the Tyler Higbee call.
So close, yeah.
Jeff, what's your expectation of Higbee this year?
Yeah, so that's why I kind of did the question, because I was kind of surprised he was fourth in targets last year. I mean, I think the targets are there for him. They don't have a great wide receiver number two outside of Cup, so he could get his work again. I could see him being a low end number one tight end, a good platoon option.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I've been a Higby detractor through the years. I haven't liked the profile much, and they've also had more weapons. But honestly, when I look around and what we look for to kick that door open is to be a top two target on your team, after Cooper Cup, there's not much, right? So this year, for the first time, maybe ever, I am actually drafting Tyler Higbee in a number of spots, best ball, and I'm even considering him as a safe option, right? I wait. If you wait, you take Tyler Higbee, you throw him in week one, and you know you at least got somebody in there, and then you maybe use a bench spot on the highest risk, high reward guy. So yeah, Tyler Higbee is on my radar. Howard, are you in? Are you doing any Higbee at all, or is the profile still scare you?
I mean, listen, Ben Skoronek's mom watches this show, so I don't want to, speak ill of the other potential targets there for the Rams. So
I forgot she watches.
you
Yeah.
know, right? I just picked up Higbee in a draft, so I'm okay on that. I'm bullish on that. And look at this, we've got a very interesting thing developing here in the chat. You want to talk about family? You want to talk about community? You want to talk about love? How about this? Dustin won the $300 entry into the fantasy football championships last week, and so he is now deferring to Rick Weaver to take this best ball entry. So listen, Dustin, thank you so much. I think that's very cool of you. I love that. Rick, you're gonna have to find some way to pay it forward. You're gonna have to message contests at bettersportsnetwork.com, Rick Weaver, and we will take care of you for that.
I will say this: you look at the chat log. Dustin answered at he answered at 2:40 and 13 seconds, and Rick came in at 2:40 and 14 seconds. 1 second difference here. So nice of you to give him that second there, Dustin.
You can take that $25,000 and get yourself some typing lessons. So that way you're a little quicker on that.
That way you're 1 second faster.
Just a wee bit quicker on that one.
Just upgrade your internet while you're at it. Just do the whole shebang.
That's right.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today and joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Obviously, we're all in on RT Sports, whether it's the Pick'em contest, whether it's going to be DFS for football, DFS for baseball right now, everything like that. Jeff, give everybody the full spiel here of everything, all things RT Sports.
Yeah, if you want to draft right now, now's the time to do it. rtsports.com. You can look at all our different money leagues, all different options. Best ball, we have our big championships as well. This best ball one that we just gave away, this championship there, entry into that. That's an awesome contest. As Andrew talked about earlier too, $500,000 for our fantasy championship this year. That's the highest it's ever been. So just a ton of contests, a ton of drafts going off, DFS as well. Commissioner product too, don't forget about that. We have a great commissioner product here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. We're really proud of that. A lot of different things you can do on that with all your league mates. So get into anything you want here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. We have it all.
And give Jeff a follow on Twitter at Jeff Paur, JEFFPAUR. It says it right there on the screen in front of him. Jeff, on behalf of all of New York, I will again say stop the hate. But my man, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
Sounds great. Great talking with all three of you.
All right. Again,
Thanks,
that's Jeff Paur from Real Time Sports. You can check him out on Twitter at Jeff Paur. Speaking of Real Time Sports, and Coop, you were talking about how you were in that FSGA draft the other day. I was in one on Monday night. I mean, how'd that go for you? Like overall, I saw you were in there. You were picking fifth in a 14-teamer. I saw that Jim Bowden was in your draft as well. He was picking 13th. On that one. How would you say that draft went for you?
I think it went great for me. It also went great for Jim, of course, because he got Tony Pollard at a good pick. He got Dalton Schultz fell to him. So now it's the most annoying possible situation where not only did he get his Cowboys, but he got good value on them, right? So I couldn't even be like, oh well, you reached. No, the worst possible. For me, I think it went great. I just took the best available, Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, and Howard, because we do our mock drafts on there. We do so many drafts over there. I had some tricks up my sleeve. I had a couple guys circled because I had already, Howard, you're the king of digging through the ADP and finding guys.
love doing that.
Yeah, you're the king at that. You go in and fill your. So I pulled the Howard. I went in right away, filled my queue with all the guys that you took, right? So I knew Devin Singletary, crazy buried. You took him in our mock draft. Michael Thomas, I didn't quite get him, but I had him in the queue. Deontay Johnson over there is going. I got him in a 14 team league. I got him in the 6th round. A guy that's had 140 targets 3 years in a row because he's just buried in their ADP. So, I knew I had a little bit of an advantage there. But to be honest, the way that these leagues work is you start off, this is my first time doing it. You start off at the lower level. And if you win one of those, then you go up to the champions level. And that's where you're drafted, right, Howard? So why don't we pull up your draft is the champions draft. Mine is just a lower level draft. So why don't we pull up the champions and let's see how the champs do it. What do you think?
All right, let's take a look at that. That's fine with me. I'm cool with having Britt assess my team, no doubt about it. I will say this, by the way. If you want to know who's like crazy buried on RT Sports right now is Mike Gesicki.
Yes.
Look at how far down amongst the tight ends Mike Gesicki is. And that's just, again, that's like a final pick, that you want to do. You got to scroll over to the other side there, not up there. You go.
Yeah. We don't need the full screen. Let's just check. Let's just look at your team.
We can just look at my team. That's fine right there. I will say this before you start, roasting my draft, which I'm okay with. I really don't mind that. I will say this, knowing that Colton and the Wolfman were picking behind me. Okay. I immediately, like I said this going in, knowing that those two are right behind me. I don't know what Chris Hammond was going to do from SCA or anything like that, but I knew with the first 2 picks, Colton and the Wolfman were taking running backs because they always do that. You can read that Smart System article in the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide. So I knew that if I didn't take a running back with my first pick, that I was going to end up possibly losing out on a solid anchor running back that I wanted, because I figured maybe 3 or 4 running backs would go in those 4 picks after me before my next pick. And lo and behold, there it was. Jacobs, Pollard, and Stevenson all went right before me on my second pick. So, yeah, I chubbed it up, baby. I love me some Nick Chubb. But, Britt, you've got that draft right in front of you right now. What do you think?
No, I looked at this earlier, and I really, really like it. Excuse me. I think that it would have been kind of funny to take CeeDee Lamb right before Colton and the Wolfman. But you know how much that I love Nick Chubb. I've hyped him up in a couple of those free prop bet articles over on fantasyalarm.com. I think that he is the best pure runner in the entire league. And I think that he has as good of a chance as anyone to take the rushing title this season. So love that pick. Obviously love AJ Brown. I think that you get a really good value with DeAndre Hopkins, especially like we just said when Jeff was on. He's going as wide receiver 20, and you got him in the 3rd round. I mean, that's excellent. Then you scooped in and got Dalvin Cook, who is going to have great upside wherever he signs, unless it's Miami. Miami worries me a little bit.
I love Miami. I love Miami. Yeah,
I love Miami.
We've talked about this before. I think that there's just a little bit of too much of a committee split, even if he is the guy. And we even saw it in San Francisco between Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell when he was healthy. So I'm just a smidge worried about his workload if he goes to Miami because of that Shanahan coaching tree. But
let me real quick follow up on that. So if he does go there and the ADP's tank for all these guys, who are you grabbing? Who do you like? Or do you just think it's too uncertain? But is there someone that you do like out of those guys?
Well, I don't know which guys you're talking about.
So if Dalvin Cook's there, right? You say that Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and A-Chain, one of these, or a lot of these guys are going to play a bunch of snaps. Like if it were to happen and the ADPs were to fall off a cliff for those guys, how would you take advantage of it? Like, or do you think it would just be too much of a mess and you stay away from the whole thing?
I tend to stay away from messes, but I think that Cook probably ends up staying right where he is. I don't think that he gets a huge increase in ADP even if he does go there. I would just make sure that he's not my RB1. I would definitely want somebody like Nick Chubb to fill in, but I think he's fine right there as an RB2. Love Christian Kirk. We've talked about this before on the wide receiver totem pole, whether or not you get a better value with a team's wide receiver 2 versus their wide receiver 1 in return on investment in ADP. And I think that Kirk's one of those guys. Montgomery, love him. He's in my article that I released today. I picked his over on touchdowns because they paid him $18 million to do something. They want him involved in this offense. And I think that he's going to be that goal line back. Then Brandon Cooks, love him. Cowboys, say less. Then sorry, Daniel Jones, solid. Honestly, solid. We like to hate on Daniel Jones, but
he needs a running back.
Right. And he actually outscored Aaron Rodgers last season. You know, we like to crap all over him, but he did fine, even with a depleted receiving core. And now he's got Darren Waller. The only thing that worries me about him a little bit is if Saquon holds out, but like we talked about earlier, don't know if that happens. The Singletary Schultz stack was interesting to me because I'm not sure how efficient that Houston offense is going to be. I think Schultz is going to have huge opportunity there because a reliable tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend. With Singletary, I'm a little worried, but he's your RB4, so it doesn't really matter. Then you paired up Jalen Hyatt with Daniel Jones. Love that. Got a huge value on Mike Gesicki, which I think he's going to be a receiving monster. Then Rashee Rice, as long as he's not puking, he's going to be great.
Even if he is puking, he's going to be great.
Right. Yes. And then the brown and the orange, which one is kicker and which one is defense?
Kicker's Jason Sanders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dolphins defense.
Yeah. And that's perfect. If this was last year, I would have said, what the hell are you doing? But bringing in Jalen Ramsey to shore up that secondary really helps out this defense a bunch. And I love it.
Oh, it's all about Vic Fangio. Like every NFL team and every defensive coordinator tries to copy what Vic Fangio does. So yeah, I love him down there in Miami.
Just get Vic Fangio instead of trying to copy him, right? And I love how this is I feel like this is what your drafts a lot of time to look like, where early on you bet on the talent, right? Like you've always had a great eye test, so you bet on the talent for guys like Chubb, Dalvin, DeAndre Hopkins. Like you believe in the player, so you take the player. And then later on, you look at these picks and you're doing a good job saying, okay, let's lean into uncertainty here, right? Like, why not Dalton Schultz? Why not Jalen Hyatt, right? I know you are worried about Wan'Dale Robinson's knee. Why not him? A lot of us think Juju is going to be the guy for the Dolphins, but as Scott Frankel in the chat points out, he wouldn't be surprised if it was Gesicki. But even if it is Juju at the top, who's next? You got Gesicki, you have Devontae Parker, you got 2 stabs at that. So, and I mean, if you think about, people say, oh, we draft Devontae Parker. This is a 14-team league with a ton of rounds, and you're drafted against like Joel Cox and Pat Fitzmaurice and, you know, like Scott Atkins. Look at the names here, Eric Moody. So just getting anybody in those rounds. Like, look at some of these other guys that are going down here, right? I mean, it's mostly kickers and stuff, but who are we going to pick? Malik Davis, some of these guys, pretty rough down there. So Devontae Parker, you could do worse than that.
Yeah, that was kind of my mentality with it. Of course, also because I've just spent the last, 5, 6, 7 years just crapping on Devontae Parker. So, you know, wouldn't it be the most interesting thing in the world if, you know, because there he is. I mean, it's a free pick. And that's, again, we've talked about this nonstop. When it comes to your late round picks, you need to be tracking the upside and just seeing what can happen, what can develop. Now, yes, Devontae Parker, could I have gone Tyquan Thornton, who, I mean, legit could be a deep threat, and he could be a guy on that Patriots team who people like that upside. I think Scott Frankel and I were actually talking about that in a private Twitter chat about that. And my feeling about it is that, you know what? I mean, I think that what I'm looking for here in Parker is, if I had to use him, what's his role going to be there in New England? Will he see some sort of consistent targets? And I think that while, yes, Tyquan Thornton could be a boomer bust guy, I'd rather have a guy who could be one of the team's top targeted guys, but also has a relatively safer floor than Tyquan Thornton, who could, catch one or two passes maybe in a game. So that's kind of the the lean for there. The big upside, the boomer bust for me is Rashee Rice and Jalen Hyatt. And those are the guys who, I'll kind of move around over there. So yeah, I thought I channeled my inner Colby Conway / Andrew Cooper with the Devin Singletary Dalton Schultz thing. But yeah, I think that this was this was a fun one for me. It was just, it was a good draft. I thought it was solid. And yes, I agree with Coop in the sense that if Cook does go to Miami, I'm not worried about Mostert and I'm not worried about Jeff Wilson. They have specific roles. Jeff Wilson handles, some of that short yardage stuff. But why would you put Jeff Wilson in there when you know that Dalvin Cook can be a bulldog also in short yardage situations? And then, for the same token, yes, Mostert super fast, but also super hurt.
Before we get out of here, Howard, I want to ask you this interesting question. Forget the team they actually drafted. From the folks in this league, there's a lot of sharp folks. When you sit down at the table to do the draft, which analyst here scares you the most? Which one do you look around and say, this guy could be a problem?
Well, nobody scares me. I mean, I was like watching this draft, and when I saw the comment in chat about Scott Atkins' team full time, I love those top 4 receivers. Those are amazing. And then you've got Trevor Lawrence. That's huge. His running backs suck. Like that's, and the problem is and a lot of people see this, when you're in a 14 team league, you need your running back. You need at least one. Like you need an anchor RB. Go read Britt Flynn's article in the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide, because that'll show you exactly what you need to do. But come on, Coop, you think any of these analysts scare me? Come on.
There's some sharp names in there, man.
There's some great names there. I love them all. I do. But I know what I also love? I love beating the crap out of them in a fantasy football.
Attaboy.
Howard Bender is completely unflappable.
No fear.
Right? Top 5 fantasy analysts of all time, people, right? I'll just put my name right in there. I'll Justin Fields this moment right here, right now.
Love it. Love it.
Boom.
Well
right,
deserved.
So we are on the tail end here. Britt, you've got an article that's out right now. It's more NFL futures. Tell us real quick.
Yeah, it's more NFL futures. This time I'm focused on touchdown over-unders. I could not resist. And with training camp starting, there's just a little short amount of time to get your picks in.
I love it. Coop, what's the next article you got coming out?
Got the Dalvin Cook article up now. I'm doing one more article on some late round wide receivers I like, and then we're doing the tight end series. So it's coming in hot.
Beautiful. Coming in hot. Be on the lookout for all of that here this week. I got Coop chained to his desk. He's getting those articles out for sure. Britt's already done them all. So here we go. Big thank you to our producer, Ernie Acosta, for joining, for helping us out here. Big thanks to Jeff Paur. Get over to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23, and get that 100% match deposit up to $200 for Britt, for Coop. I'm Howard. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football. Catch you next time.